Now at 9, prosecutors announced plans to file charges against a former police chief involved in a raid on a Kansas newspaper.
The Miners Hall Museum joins a program that will help the site continue to keep preserving the history of Southeast Kansas. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
Plus, we look into a connection between wildfires in the west and a growing layer of haze in southwest Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
2 special prosecutors say they plan to charge a former Central Kansas police chief over his conduct following a raid last year on his town's newspaper. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. It stems from an August 2023 police raid on the Marion County Record and the home of its publisher. Prosecutors say former Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody obstructed justice by withholding information from investigators. Authorities also say the newspaper and its staff did not commit any crimes. The Miners Hall Museum is proud to help showcase the history of Southeast Kansas, but workers there want to make sure they are preserving it too. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more on how the museum staff hopes a federal program will help them protect the past.
My grandparents were miners. My father worked on Big Brutus, so I grew up on a coal camp, Daisy Hill.
Southeast Kansas mining history, as well as early families, is showcased all throughout the Miners Hall Museum, drawing thousands of visitors a year, such as this group from Italy. Susan Bester helps walk visitors through all the different displays, helping to answer any questions they may have.
It's really rewarding, especially when someone finds a name in the library or find what they did and what the day-to-day things were for the family. People are always excited when they discover, and it might be good, it might be bad, you just never know.
But the Miners Hall Museum wants to do more than just showcase history. They hope to preserve it. That's why museum staff applied for the Collection Assessment for Preservation program, also known as CAPS, a federally run program that helps different sites learn what steps they can do to improve their preservation efforts. Only 71 sites were chosen across the country.
It's an assessment program, and it will help us evaluate our museum and what we're doing correctly, what we're doing incorrectly. It will give us some guidance, and we were very excited to be accepted for that program.
The museum was one of only 14 in the nation to receive data loggers that will be used to measure the temperature and humidity of certain exhibits. Museum staff say the information they learn from these data loggers will help tell them what steps they may need to take to help preserve certain artifacts.
There's so many things that go along with preserving the artifacts, whether it's temperature, whether it's the lighting. There's just a lot that goes into it. It's just not, you don't just put a name on something and stick it on a shelf. And each item, whether it's paper, cloth, whatever it is made of, requires some different type of care.
And the museum staff say their acceptance into the program couldn't have come at a better time as they plan for an expansion of the site.
This will give us a lot of guidance in what we need to do and plan for in that new building by showing us what we're doing correctly and incorrectly currently.
And for Susan, who loves showcasing the area's history, she's excited that the artifacts that matter to visitors will be able to exist for years to come.
It's amazing that we had so many people who had the foresight to save these artifacts.
Reporting in Franklin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Miners Hall Museum staff say they hope to receive a final report on the results of the program in the beginning of next year. Well, Quapaw Nation is in dire need of foster parents for children. Carissa Millard is the Indian Child Welfare Director for Quapaw Nation and says they're having an extra hard time finding a home for teenage children. Quapaw Nation is looking for tribal foster parents that will help kids with their mental health journey and keep them connected to their culture.
Each case is different, and we want to make sure that just because this one child needs this service doesn't mean that this child doesn't need another service. So really kind of doing a wraparound type creation that helps every child in need of these services.
Willard says it's very rewarding for foster parents to see the growth of their foster child. Potential foster parents must be at least 21 and complete a home study before they accept a child into their home. Meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us now with a first look at weather.
Well, temperature is finally starting to cool down a little bit, about 84 out in Joplin, and it's mostly clear, but we do still have a cloud or two. Winds are pretty calm, but they're out of the south, so we're still getting that southerly breeze, a little bit of warmer air in the area. So tomorrow you can still expect to see some higher temperatures, higher heat indices for the area, but currently about 86 out in Miami, 89 still in Independence, 86 in Nowata, 81 out in Cassville, so a little bit cooler out there. So we are all in the upper to mid 80s now, dropping down to the mid to lower 70s for our low tonight. Unfortunately, temperatures rise right back up tomorrow morning, and we have a few heat advisories still for out in Oklahoma, Craig, Ottawa, Nowata, and Washington counties, and that's until 9 p.m. tomorrow. I'll talk more about that in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. While we're dealing with the usual summer heat, parts of southwest Missouri are also seeing some haze in the sky. The heat and haze are driven by the same weather setup that we have in place. As Nick Kelly reports, health officials want you to be aware of how this could impact your health.
This week started out with plenty of sunshine. However, areas of haze and smoke caught the eye of meteorologist Brandon Beck this morning.
Several of our cameras this morning, specifically Mountain Home and Lebanon, even the one in Springfield, you could just see sort of this, haze came to mind at first, this white tint to the sky.
Two culprits are in play. First, the wildfires in the western United States, especially the Park Fire in California. Second, our upper-level high centered over the central United States is keeping us hot to start the week out. Brandon says that position is also key for the haze.
That corridor of smoke follows right there along the jet, strongest winds, and we're on the edge of the high. So some of it comes around and spills south, but that's why it's so thin here.
While the smoky haze may be thin, it's enough to decrease the air quality at a monitor installed at Hillcrest High School. One medical expert says even some haze can impact some people.
It's just going to be mild symptoms like nose, throat, eye irritation, watery, burning eyes, sneezing. But it can also cause coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath.
Dr. Bomberry with Mercy says young people, pregnant women, older adults, and immunocompromised people can be most affected by bad air quality and smoky haze. Ways to combat this starts with limiting time outside.
Stay inside. Keep the windows shut because those fine particles can go through screens. If you have an air filtration system built onto your HVAC system, that can help. Or even if you just have one set up in one room in your house, try to spend the bulk of your time there. And then just know to watch for those symptoms.
As for when there might be some relief from the smoke and haze, we'll have to wait until midweek for the ridge to retreat and maybe next week for rain chances to return. Well, coming up, Hurricane Debbie.
The Southeast braces for historic rainfall as Debbie moves further inland. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
With back to school season inching closer, getting students prepared for success takes a lot of preparation. And while education can positively impact a child's life, the way teachers discipline and label their students can do the exact opposite. Fox News' Ted Linder takes a look at what some advocates say parents need to know before kicking off the new school year.
It might be hard to believe, but communities around the country are already gearing up for back to school season.
Back to school is a stressful time.
But in the midst of backpack giveaways and shopping trips for pencils and folders, some researchers say it takes more than just having the right supplies to succeed. Adding, it's critical parents are aware that how kids are disciplined throughout their academic journey can negatively impact their future development.
School punishment is directly associated with later criminal justice system involvement.
Dr. Abigail Novak of the University of Mississippi says damage can be done early on, depending on the way teachers label a child's behavior.
So if children are told that they are bad, they can potentially internalize that label and come to see themselves as bad. They'll sort of think to themselves, oh, I'm bad, so I can only hang out with other kids who are bad. Or I'm a bad kid, so I can't do this activity because that's not for bad kids.
Students who have developed a bad reputation, meanwhile, can also become the target of more biased punishments at school.
You have a child who's been labeled as a bad kid by anybody. If that child is playing with a group of their peers in the hallway and they perhaps are making noise, an authority figure might sort of narrow their vision in on the kid labeled as bad. That can trigger punishments for that child.
But as we head into this new school year, Dr. Novak shares this recommendation for districts nationwide.
Instead of sort of thinking about the child as defiant and how do we punish, thinking about how we are contributing to those child's behaviors and how can we collectively kind of reshape things to make the environment more suitable to the kids' needs.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
The school year is about to begin again, which means school buses will soon become a regular sight in traffic. And students and parents in Carthage will get a chance to learn about the district's bus routes and procedures tomorrow. The school bus information night will also include a bus tour, a safety lesson on and around the bus, and a meeting with the district's transportation team. The event will run from 4 to 7 p.m. tomorrow at the Carthage High School Commons and is available to all students in the district and their parents. Well, Lindsay is next with a complete look at your forecast. And later, the Riverton, Kansas All-Stars look to keep their Little League World Series hopes alive, taking on the champs from Minnesota.
Well, we're starting off the week hot. Luckily, it's not as humid, but those hot temperatures continue for the next couple of days. We'll take a look at that in just a moment, but outside right now, downtown Joplin from the Corona Arts and Entertainment Complex, looking pretty good. We do see a cloud or two, but overall, it's a clear night. We also have temperatures that are dropping down into the mid to lower 80s right now. We're also staying pretty clear. Most of the Midwest is not getting a lot of rainfall. There is Hurricane Debbie that made landfall yesterday and now is wreaking havoc along the East Coast. Dropped a couple of tornadoes, and I know a couple people who live out there dealing with flooding, and actually a lot of work has been canceled for tomorrow due to all of the rain. We are not getting any rain. We are just getting high temperatures, heat advisories for most of our counties out in Oklahoma. That's Craig, Ottawa, and Newada County. Those are going to continue until about 9 p.m. tomorrow. We may see a few more pop up because we do have higher temperatures, higher heat indexes in the southern counties, so about Joplin and south. And as we mentioned earlier, we have some smoke that's kind of near our area. We've only got moderate air quality, but out in Tulsa, a little bit of that unhealthy, orange, unhealthy for sensitive groups. So not so bad in our area, but still you may want to just take extra precautions. We also have a boundary moving in tomorrow night. So we are dealing with hot temperatures tomorrow. Luckily, as this boundary moves in, it's bringing in cooler and wetter air behind it, an air mass from the north. So you can see that boundary line right there with the moist air behind it moving in to the area. You can see it finally makes its way all the way through all of our counties by Tuesday evening. So unfortunately, the high temperature for Tuesday is still going to remain pretty hot. Actual temperature for the area, 96 in Joplin, 101 in Miami, Veneta, Newada, Grove, 99 in Neosho, Anderson, and Jay. So those southern counties are still dealing with actual temperatures being near 100 degrees. But that boundary has moved in most of the northern counties, so they've got upper 80s, low 90 degree weather. Not so bad. We also have some rain chances as that air mass has moved in, bringing us shift in the winds and a few rain chances moving in on Thursday. Not going to be heavy amount of rain, just some light scattered showers, maybe a little drizzle moving into most of the northern counties, dissipating by about 9 a.m., starting about 6 a.m. So not a long time for the rain showers and not a lot of accumulation either. Dissipates by then, and we're looking dry for the next couple of days after that. But that's okay because these temperatures are pretty nice. 88 on Thursday, 85 on Friday, 86 on Saturday. And then we start to see rain chances kicking back off on Monday, bringing a little bit more widespread and heavier amount of rainfall throughout the week.
All right, get through another hot day and then we're in the clear.
Yes, we're just cruising after that.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, Debbie makes a landfall in northern Florida, threatening the southeast with damaging storm surge and torrential rain. Officials say thousands of emergency personnel are on standby to assist communities during and after the storm. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Sari has more.
Hurricane Debbie roaring ashore Monday morning, making landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida's Gulf Coast as a Category 1 storm. It touched down in the small town of Steinhatchee, bringing heavy rains, a life-threatening storm surge, and wind gusts as high as 80 miles per hour. Thousands of electrical customers throughout the state have already lost power, and the numbers continue to rise. Debbie is now moving inland, where officials say it could cause catastrophic flooding in Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia.
When you have flood situations, that is the number one way where we will see fatalities, is by people being out on the roads and hydroplaning.
Sunday night, heavy rain started to flood streets along the coast, prompting high water rescues in Clearwater and St. Petersburg. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the state is ready for additional rescues if needed, with hundreds of crews, National Guardsmen, and the Coast Guard on standby. Forecasters expect Debbie to drop more than a foot of rain across parts of the southeast this week, and they warn communities could be dealing with the aftermath of this storm for days.
Some of these areas will continue to receive upwards of 15 to 20 inches of rain. All of that will drain into the river basins. We are not running anywhere. We are staying put.
Officials here in Georgia say parts of the state could see a month's worth of rain if the storm system stalls over the region. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Well, coming up, recession concerns.
Renewed concerns about a possible recession after global markets tumble. I'm Kelly O'Grady in New York. I'll have the details coming up.
Fears of a U.S. recession trigger a global sell-off. Fox Business correspondent Kelly O'Grady has more.
I don't know if this is the start of something really deep like a recession, or whether this is one of those blips.
Investors on Wall Street hoping Monday's sell-off is just a blip. Global markets nosedive following Wall Street's slump on Friday after a series of reports showed the economy softening. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Nasdaq were both down more than 1,000 points at the start of Monday's trading session on Wall Street. The U.S. markets reacting to a bloodbath in Japan. The country's stock index suffered its worst day in nearly 40 years. The Nikkei, now in a bear market, falling more than 12%, its worst plunge since the Black Monday crash of 1987. Now, July's weaker than expected job growth has investors bracing for the possibility of the economy skidding. The latest jobs report came in weaker than expected, with only 114,000 jobs added in July, and the unemployment rate jumped to 4.3%. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell now being urged to cut interest rates as early as this week to soothe investor fears of a possible recession. Investors say the Fed hasn't moved quick enough on slashing rates despite the fact inflation has cooled from its peak in the summer of 2022.
The Fed is behind the 8 ball here. There's no question they've waited too long.
There's speculation the Fed could be cutting interest rates by 0.5% in September.
We've moved from a problem of inflation right now to deflation in prices, and I think the Fed has to act to stop that.
Now, the Fed can step in and make an emergency interest rate cut if needed. In New York, Kelly O'Grady, Fox Business.
The vice president launches a new campaign targeting moderate Republicans. Tomorrow is Election Day for Kansas and Missouri. Voters in both states will decide primary elections featuring a variety of races, including state and local offices, as well as some tax issues. Polling places in Missouri open at 6 a.m. and will remain open until 7 p.m. In Kansas, they'll be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You'll be able to find results as they come in tomorrow on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. Vice President Harris narrows in on her pick for a running mate after a weekend of interviews. We'll have the latest on her choice. And the Middle East is on the brink of an all-out war, how the U.S. is trying to ease tensions.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Vice President Kamala Harris's choice for a running mate is now expected to come tomorrow morning. The field has been narrowed down with just 1 day to go before she begins a campaign blitz with that person by her side. Now, Harris's shortlist now reportedly includes Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Whoever is chosen will stand next to Harris at a major rally in Philadelphia tomorrow and then continue on a cross-country battleground state campaign tour. The vice president's campaign is also launching what it's calling Republicans for Harris, hoping to win over moderates who might be weary of Trump. Anti-immigration protests in England led to weekend violence, chaos, and hundreds of arrests. Police in several cities have fought with far-right demonstrators that tried to set fire to 2 hotels where asylum seekers live. Police call the violence staggering. Protests began after last week's deadly stabbing of 3 young girls. Israel is bracing for a potential large-scale attack in response to the assassinations of senior Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. The United States has sent more forces to the region, ready to support our close ally. Meanwhile, President Biden is focusing on de-escalating tensions through a diplomatic approach. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor reports.
President Biden and Vice President Harris sitting down with the National Security Council in the Situation Room Monday to discuss the latest developments in the Middle East. Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah have exchanged strikes frequently since war broke out in Gaza nearly 10 months ago. But the fighting could soon reach a new level after 2 high-level assassinations last week, a Hezbollah commander in Beirut and the political leader of Hamas in Iran's capital. Deaths Iran has vowed to avenge.
When the Supreme Leader says he's going to avenge, we have to take that seriously. Now, I don't know what they're going to do or when they're going to do it, but we got to make darn sure that we're ready.
Over the weekend, the United States deployed an additional fighter jet and Navy warships to the region. And President Biden and his team are working the phones to ensure other partners in the region, such as Jordan and Sudan, are committed to de-escalating tensions and encouraging a ceasefire.
We are at a critical moment for the region, and it is important that all parties take steps over the coming days to refrain from escalation and calm tensions.
And in another headline from the Middle East, the United Nations announced 9 staff members have been fired for their involvement in the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
A bit later, the heat is on and so is band camp. We check in with Pittsburgh High School to see how this year's marching band is juggling learning formations and keeping cool.
Temperatures are going to continue to stay warm through tomorrow, but we do have a little light at the end of the tunnel. But tonight, downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex, we've got a southerly breeze, a cloud or 2. Other than that, not much going on. We do have some higher temperatures still in the forecast through tomorrow. And also there's Hurricane Debbie made landfall yesterday and is now continuing to wreak havoc along the East Coast. Dropped a couple tornadoes. I know a lot of flooding and that surge that is causing some issues out there. I know a lot of people have called out of work too, or work's been canceled tomorrow due to the storm and the flooding, but we're not dealing with any of that. We don't get any rainfall through most of the week, but we are dealing with heat. Heat advisories for Ottawa, Craig, Nowata, and Washington counties all the way through tomorrow evening. And we may see a couple more pop up, especially Joplin, Independence, Sedan, and some of our southern counties still going to have higher temperatures and higher heat index through tomorrow evening. And with all the wildfires that are out in the west, upper level flow brings this ridge, so we have some smoke moving into the area. We had a package earlier, we talked about it, and most of us are all right. We're in that moderate, you can see the few yellow dots, that's where we measure the air quality, moderate for our area and good. But out in Tulsa, unhealthy for sensitive groups. So we are still dealing with some of that through the next couple of days as well. Luckily, we do have an air mass moving through the north, cooler and wetter air mass. So it's going to bring some more moisture, some rain chances as well, and a drop in temperatures. You can see that clear, distinct line where that boundary is moving through early Tuesday morning. And it finally makes it through the entire counties 6:30, 6:45 in the evening, and that's when we start to see the drop in temperatures. Unfortunately, earlier in the day, it's mostly just for those northern counties. 89 in Iola, 93 in Fort Scott, 91 in Chanute, 88 in Yates Center, so they're getting cooler temperatures starting Tuesday, but if you're in Joplin or south, unfortunately not until Wednesday. So 96 out in Joplin, 101 in Miami, Veneta, Nowata, Grove, 99 in Neosho, Anderson, Jay, 100 in Welsh, Bella Vista. So still going to deal with the hotter temperatures on Tuesday. Luckily, as that boundary moves through, Wednesday we see a drop in temperatures, upper 80s, low 90s for a high for all of our counties. And moving into Thursday, we've got a few rain chances. Some isolated showers starting to push in early, 6:30 in the morning. And those continue just mostly for our northern counties. The way Nevada, Fort Scott, a few isolated showers by about 9:30, 10 a.m. And then we clear out. Unfortunately, we don't see more rain chances until next Monday, but all week and weekend, we're gonna have that drop in temperatures in the 80s.
I'm looking forward to a cool down. That'll be nice.
Me too.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, the Pittsburgh High School Marching Band is feeling the music with their feet as they kick off band camp. We sent photojournalist Ty Parks to see how they're handling the heat.
Bend, 10, hut, PHS. Forward, march, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
You have to drink a lot of water, definitely. Staying hydrated is like the most important thing, because if you're not hydrated, you'll probably not make it the whole day. But I think Mr. Neal also does really good about giving us plenty of breaks throughout the time period that we're here. Definitely the people. It's a very diverse community that we have. There's definitely a lot of people that are in sports and all the way to math club. So the range of people that we get here is very different, and everyone's very accepting of that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right now.
It's definitely a lot of positive encouragement, and we always try to set off areas just in case if someone's not feeling well. You know, we have a tent for them. They can drink water. I always bring snacks just in case to help any students. So it's a lot of just being patient and understanding, but also give support.
Reason for a purpose, so do it. Benton Hunt
PHS.
Usually on day one of band camp, there are, obviously we usually like to wait until it's the hottest week of summer to have band camp, which it's just the way that it works out, but it's always a bummer. I try to encourage kids beforehand. I always see freshmen the week before, and we do a lot of inside things as well. And so I tell them, over the weekend, you need to be hydrating. You have to drink water now. You have to eat well now. You have to start getting outside of your enclosed spaces and get out of that computer chair for a little bit this weekend and start doing some walking and prep, because it just gets intense really quickly. And so when I get to see the freshmen who have never experienced this before, then they at least get a weekend of forewarning.
A little bit, and so you are going to just squat down just a tiny little bit, okay?
I think that there's this shared camaraderie through I don't want to say the agony of marching band, but usually what we do out here is uncomfortable. We could be sitting inside and making music so much easier than what we're doing here right now. And so I think one of the special things about marching band is these kids make fast friends. It is a great community to be a part of.
Well, the PHS Band Camp runs through Friday, which is capped off with a performance for parents at 5:30 p.m. Well, coming up in sports, the Chiefs signed their kicker to a long-term contract extension. Plus, the Riverton 12 and under All-Stars play an elimination game for the second day in a row. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
The Riverton 12U All-Stars lost their first game of the Midwest Region Tournament, but stayed alive after beating Nebraska in an elimination game yesterday. And this morning, they're on the brink of elimination again, facing the Minnesota state champs. Riverton All-Stars in an elimination game for the second day in a row, taking on the state champs from St. Louis Park, Minnesota. They fall behind early. This pass ball allows Minnesota to score the first run of the game in the top of the first inning, but Riverton responds. Bottom of the first, Jed Pillar rips a base hit down the line into left. That's 2 unanswered runs. for the Kansas State champs to take the lead. Riverton enters the fourth with a 4-2 lead, but the wheels kind of fall off there. This RBI single puts Minnesota in front 6-4. They're not finished yet. Another run scores on another bloop single later in the inning. That makes it 10-4. Minnesota scores 10 runs in the fourth inning alone. Bottom of the frame, this helps the comeback effort. Nolan Rogers blasts a solo home run over the fence in left center, but that big deficit just proves to be a little bit too high of a hill to climb. Riverton, the All-Stars season ends in the Midwest Region Tournament as one of the last 6 teams standing. Final score, 16-6. Now, Riverton is eliminated from that Midwest Regional, but Webb City still remains alive and well. The Missouri State champs are one of 2 teams yet to lose a game. They face South Dakota Wednesday at 11 a.m. That's a contest you can watch on ESPN. Win or lose, Webb City is guaranteed to play at least one more game, either on Thursday or on Friday. Now, college football season less than a month away. We get a step closer to kickoff this morning as the preseason FBS coaches poll gets released. Here's the top half of the preseason, top 25. No surprise to see perennial powerhouses Georgia and Ohio State at 1 and 2. Big expectations this year for Missouri. The Tigers enter the season as the number 11 team in the country after going 11 and 2 in 2023. Here's the second half of the top 25. Oklahoma is ranked 16th to begin the year 3 under Brent Venables, and they're first as a member of the SEC. 3 of the Big 12 teams in our area follow suit. Kansas State right behind OU at 17, then Oklahoma State 18, and Kansas is the number 24 team in the preseason coaches poll. Over to professional football, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport announces today that Chiefs and place kicker Harrison Butker have agreed to a long-term extension. It's reported to be 4 years and $25.6 million, which has $17 million of it guaranteed. The 29-year-old Butker will now be the highest-paid kicker in the league, surpassing Jake Elliott and Justin Tucker's average salaries of $6 million per year. That's it for sports. We're back after this.
24 drivers make history as they start their careers in real-life driving by using esports to get there. Fox's Iman Dignan has more in this edition of our Fox on Games series.
From esports to motorsports, 24 top gamers are trading in their joysticks for the real thing. 24 game drivers from 13 countries will receive paid contracts to compete in the P3 Championship, real-world series within the Prodigy Racing League, a real-life race kicking off at Atlanta Motorsports Park in October.
By leveraging racing game competitions, we can open up the sport to any and all, regardless of socioeconomic background, where skill is the only differentiator.
David Cook is the CEO of Prodigy Racing. He says the idea was to pick players that can succeed in the world of motorsports.
What we're doing is we're building the world's first E-to-Real league with the goal of sustainable racing careers.
Thomas Bellman, the #1 seed, says he's not worried about his lack of real-world experience.
Simulators nowadays have evolved compared to what it was 20 to 30 years ago.
And he says the draft was specifically designed to weed out those who couldn't make it on the track.
We went through all those tests, we were evaluated, we were given scorecards, and then a few weeks later we went through the draft where 6 teams were announced.
And this isn't the first time drivers were pulled into motorsports from video games. A Gran Turismo player famously made the switch to professional racing. And during the pandemic, some competitive drivers jumped over to the gaming world. Check out more stories like this every weekend on the Fox on Tech, Fox on Games podcast. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Well, Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx celebrate the 20th anniversary of their noir thriller, Collateral. Find out how you can own it and much more in what's new in home entertainment. The Grand Dame of Champagne, a popular time-traveling duo and country music superstars, are among the new digital, DVD, and music releases available to add to your home library. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin runs down the list of what's new in home entertainment.
I want our champagne to have structure.
Topping this week's list of what's new in home entertainment, the period drama Widow Clicquot is based on the true story of Barb Nicole Ponsardin, who transformed her dead husband's struggling champagne business into a world-renowned brand and changed the industry forever. The film is available to rent or purchase on demand. The comedy Babes follows two childhood best friends whose bond is challenged when one pursues pregnancy alone after a one-night stand. Johnny Depp reprises his voice role from the Puffins miniseries in Johnny Puff's Secret Mission. The animated film adaptation follows Johnny Puff and his feathered friends trying to stop Otto von Walrus from plunging the world into icy chaos.
Here we go.
Grand Canyon, huh?
Hard Miles tells the true story of a prison social worker and his cycling team of teenage convicts embarking on a transformative 1,000-mile ride.
Whatever, man, we gotta roll with it.
The noir thriller Collateral, starring Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx, celebrates its 20th anniversary with a limited edition 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Steelbook. And Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Trilogy box set features all three of the films starring Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. For music fans, singer-songwriter Amos Lee releases his first new album of original songs in more than 2 years, Transmissions. And Grammy Award-winning country music group Little Big Town celebrate their 25th anniversary with the release of a greatest hits album. The collection features fan favorites including Pontoon and Better Man, as well as a new version of Shut Up Train with country singer Kelsey Ballerini. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Can't believe Little Big Town, 25 years. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of the giant panda Yaya. You might remember her from the Memphis Zoo. She's celebrating her 24th birthday at the Beijing Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.